It has been a while since Celestia spent some time with Twilight, and one day Celestia were invited for some tea in Ponyville by Twilight. Twilight informed that at least her friend Fluttershy would join them, and Celestia didn't mind that Fluttershy was enjoying them. But when Fluttershy did show up, she wasn't even alone. She actually had her friend Tree Hugger with her. Fluttershy asked if it was okay if Tree Hugger joined them, and both Celestia and Twilight didn't mind. Fluttershy told them that Tree Hugger actually came by her home and asked if they could spend some time, but Fluttershy admitted that she was going to be spend some time with her friend Twilight and Celestia for some tea, and she asked if Tree Hugger wanted to join, and since Tree Hugger had not in plans, so she did. During the tea, though, they were just actually having a good conversation. They talked all about their personal interests, their hobbies, and all kinds of stuff. Tree Hugger admitted that she had been traveling around in the area mostly, and actually had been very much enjoyed the environment. She is a very unlike most other poets in town because she preferred to just relax for most part and don't take things quite serious. But since this is not the first time Celestia actually met Treehugger, Treehugger were actually at the Grand Galloping Gala a while back with Fluttershy as her companion. But even after this, during the conversation between Celestia and Treehugger, they actually had a very good conversation. And it turns out they actually had a great deal and also great respect for the world and the nature. Even Celestia told her back when she was very young, just the time when she became the ruler of Equestria along with her sister, there were plans to cut down some trees in the area so they could expand the Camelot buildings. But both Celestia and Luna actually dismissed this idea because they wanted to preserve the nature for future generations. But they were agreed at least to cut down some of the trees, but not all of them. And that is something that Tree Hugger could actually understand. Because they should preserve the nature, because if that is gone, it will be gone. After her conversation with Celestia, Tree Hugger had to leave because she had some other plans to do the rest of the day, and she left. But she said goodbye to Celestia and said that she hopes to meet her one day soon again, and even Celestia agreed. But even after Fluttershy had left, and that was only Twilight and Celestia left, they were just small talking about their conversation she had with Tree Hugger and Fluttershy. But it was something when Celestia was silent for a moment there. Twilight asked if something was wrong, and Celestia said no, nothing is wrong. Tree Hugger just kind of reminded me of when I was young, said Celestia back. That's something that Twilight could understand because they had a lot of respect for the nature, and they actually very much understand how important the nature is. But when later on, when Celestia returned back to Canterlot, somehow she couldn't get the head of her mind of Treehugger. She had actually this great respect for Treehugger. And about a few weeks later, Celestia actually decided to take a break from her duties after she had been taking care of most of them. And after she was being done with them, she decided to leave Canterlot and go on for flight, just flying around. Even though that the guards want to go with her, but she said that she can handle herself and she won't go that far, so they agreed. Celestia actually went to a small forest not far from the cantaloupe. She sat down and just. It kind of reminded her when she was young. It happened that when she was younger, she just sat down under a tree to relax after her ruling duties. And, but as she was sitting there, she heard some noise and then saw it was a pony, and none other than Tree Hugger. Tree Hugger was a bit surprised to see Celestia there, and even Celestia asked what brings her here in the first place. Tree Hugger said that she was actually just looking for some herbs that she was going to plant at home. She explained that she's growing some medicinal herbs, healing herbs. She prefers to be having medicine that from the nature rather from others. That is something that Celestia can actually respect as well, because considering how much of the medicine they have, how much of it comes from national medicine. But Treehugger said that she was looking for one particular herb, but no matter where she's been looking, she couldn't find it. Celestia asked what kind of herb she was looking for, and Treehugger explained one particular herb was called dragon herb. Dragon herb, Celestia thought. But then she remembered. She remembers when she was young, she knew there was one spot there was a lot of those that particular herb was growing. But that was over 1,000 years ago. She wasn't even sure if that place had even existed anymore or if the herb was still growing there. But it wasn't even that far. Because Celestian remembered that was not that even that far from the Cantlot Castle. And in fact, it was in the same area where she were at the moment. So she told Treehugger that. Treehugger was really surprised that she even knew about this place at all. Well, he said that this herb was growing there. Celestia explained that she knew what this herb was growing because it happens that she took some of the herb when she was younger, because she sometimes needed it after a long day of ruling. It helped her against headaches. And Treehugger was excited. So Celestia took with Treehugger to this particular spot, even though Celestia was nervous that maybe this place never even had any dragon herb anymore. But to both astonishment, and even to Celestia's amazement, the dragon herb still grew in the spot, but even had increased in numbers. Treehugger thanked Celestia for the help to find the particular herb. Treehugger picked a lot of this herb since that she was going to grow her home. And she thanked Celestia once again and asked if there was something she could do for return. And she said no, but then Treehugger asked if she would be willing to have some natural tea that she has been growing. And since Celestia is a very much fan of teas, so she agreed. They went to Treehugger's cottage. It wasn't even that far. And Celestia saw that when Treehugger mentioned that she was growing some the dragon herbs and other medicinal, she first expected maybe just a small gardens, but it wasn't even a small one. She could see a big part of land behind the cottage has rows after rows of different medicinal plants. And it turns out that Treehugger had a small business that she was growing and selling this natural medicinal plants. Celestia asked what kind of plants she was growing and what they are usually used for. Well, except for dragon herbs that she had helped to get. So the Treehugger explained over tea that most of the plants that she had were usually for to help to release pain, even cold, and even some of them like the pulmonary flu or something like that. She preferred the natural type of medicine because even though that a lot of medicines still today are mostly made in factories or have some chemicals, but they are also effective. But sometimes tree hugger would prefer the more natural medicine, which Celestia could understand. And even though Celestia very much enjoyed this particular tea, she actually asked what kind of tea it is. And Tree Hugger explained this is her own green tea that she is growing, and has a hint of cinnamon. And Celestia loved it. She asked if maybe that she could have some with her back to the castle. Tree Hugger actually said that she could have as much as she wanted, because she grows a lot of it. After that, Celestia took some of the tea with her back to the castle. She even shared some of it with Luna, who also kind of enjoys on having tea now and then. And even Luna actually enjoyed it as well. But after her second visit, after her visit to Tree Hugger's cottage, she started thinking a lot more about Tree Hugger. For some reason, she couldn't even get of her mind. She's a very unique character. She is very polite, very kind, very relaxed. She seems almost not much as any anger in her. It wasn't until like some time later on when she learned more about Tree Hugger from Fluttershy. Fluttershy actually explained that Tree Hugger often meditates to relieve some of the stress and anger. And that might be the reason why she was never seen to be any stressful or any anger. So one day, Celestia had been such stressful for the whole day, and after a while, she decided she had enough of that, and she felt so stressed. After she had taken care of her royal duties for the day, and even though it was early afternoon still, she felt so stressful. And she remembered what Fluttershy told her. The tree hugger is a good expert in yoga, or it is meditation. So she decided to see if Tree Hugger could teach her some meditation techniques. And she did. Tree Hugger was actually once again surprised to see her. And of course, she always asked what the reason why he's there. She was asked if maybe Tree Hugger could show her some um, meditation techniques. Because Fluttershy told her that she was doing meditation to relieve herself from stress. And Tree Hugger could somehow sense that Celestia were very stressful, and she agreed. So they went in the backyard behind the cottage in the nature, and they both sat down on the blanket, and Tree Hugger told her to close her eyes and take a deep breath over and over and focus on a calm spot that she would prefer, like if she was on the beach watching as just imagine as the waves hitting the shores back and forward, and listen as to the wind blowing. And somehow that technique actually did work. After maybe in half an hour, Fluttershy Celestia felt so relaxed. She hadn't felt this relaxed in a long time. She thanked Tree Hugger once again for the help. But then Tree Hugger said she is always welcome back for any more meditation techniques or just simply to meditate with her. Celestia actually thanked the offer and said that she will think about it. But it didn't take long. A couple of days later, Celestia came back to Tree Hugger's cottage, and They started to meditate together, and even afterwards they had tea and small talk. But over time, Celestia started feeling different about it. Treehugger actually respected her kindness, and even though when Celestia offered to pay some of those meditation sessions she had with her, but Treehugger refused. She didn't want to have any payment. Only the payment is Celestia's company. But after almost like a month of doing this, Celestia had realized something. She had fallen in love with Treehugger. She hadn't even told anybody except for Luna and Twilight. She wasn't really expecting this to even really happen, because considering how much of this time she had spent with Treehugger, she was really much considering to herself not to even tell Treehugger, because she wasn't really sure if she was even really in love with her, or if this was just some sort of temporary emotions. But as the day when she came to realize she was in love, the feelings didn't fade. They only remained, and in fact even grew stronger. And even with Luna's convincing that Celeste should at least admit to confess her feelings for Tree. So Celestia went over to Tree Hugger's cottage, finding her in the middle of the garden taking care of her herbs when she saw Celestia. Celestia was actually a bit nervous, but she admitted to Tree Hugger that she would love her. And somehow, Tree Hugger like say said something like that she did sense that Celestia weren't in love with her. So she pretty much really said that she even had feelings towards her as well. And they actually decided to try dating to see if they could actually work. They went to this small restaurant in Canterlot and actually had a good time. Even though it didn't take long for the public to become aware of Celestia being dating Treehugger, but it was always a great positive reactions. In fact, most ponies had seen Celestia alone. They were actually very much very eager and very convincing her that since she has been alone ever since she became the ruler, along with Luna, that now she has some point in her life. She should decide it. She should, especially to have this, try to embrace, just to make it work, to really try it. And she decided to do so. And after a couple of months, they actually made it official. And they actually often went on restaurants, even had picnics, or even went to sometimes small vacations. In fact, one time, Celestia was over to Saudi Arabia for about a week for a diplomatic mission. She decided to invite Treehugger, and Treehugger actually had asked Fluttershy and some of her friends to take care of her garden while she was gone, and which they did. During the time when Celestia and Treehugger were in Saudi Arabia, during the day when Celestia was busy with diplomatic talks, afterwards she spent a lot of time with Treehugger, with exploring the city, having romantic dinners, and all that stuff. And both actually had a great time. Even the public was really excited to see one of the rulers so happy to be with somebody after being alone for such long, long time. Even Luna could see how happy she were. She was smiling a lot. It was like she was glowing. And that was something that Celestia loved. Even if that Celestia and Luna were just happy, both was equally happy that Celestia found somebody. But then it happened. During one winter, one morning, when Luna discovered that Celestia hadn't even raised the sun yet, she went to see Celestia in her room. She found out that she was still sleeping, but Celestia wasn't feeling well. In fact, she had a bad case of this pony flu. It made her so tired, so weak, she couldn't even barely rise the sun. But luckily for Twilight was there to help them. But the doctors that in the castle, they tried their best. But it was nothing much they could do, since none of the medicine didn't work much. Even Luna started getting a bit worried. Since Celestia was only getting tired more often, she was barely awake for maybe just a few minutes before she passed out. But then she remembers Tree Hugger. Tree Hugger was the one that, since she had been growing a lot of medicinal plants. But then, it was middle of winter. She was hoping that maybe that Tree Hugger could have some of that medicine left. So she went out personally. And Tree Hugger wasn't even aware that her own girlfriend was sick. When she found out, she was actually really very stunned. She was a bit worried. And she asked for what kind of condition Celestia had. Luna said that she had the pony flu, but none of the medicine that she has been given didn't work. And she was hoping if maybe the tree hugger had some of the herbs that she used for against pony flu any longer left. Luckily though, she did. She gave Luna some of the cases, some bottles that contained the powder for this particular medicine. And after a few days of the treatment, Celestia was back to full recovered, which Tree Hugger was really excited about. She was really happy to see that Celestia was up and running again. Even Celestia was actually aware that she was the one giving this cure from Tree Hugger. And after all that made her love for Tree Hugger even stronger. After being together for almost 4 years, Celestia thought maybe she was ready to take the next step in the relationship. So when she went over to see Tree Hugger one day, she actually proposed to Tree Hugger. And Tree Hugger said yes, because she was actually ready herself to be settled down, and they decided to have their wedding in Candlelight. Tree Hugger had asked Fluttershy to be a bridesmaid, and Luna was asked to be Celestia's bridesmaid, and Twilight the one to perform the ceremony. They actually had this great big ceremony, and even afterwards at the party, every pony was just happy to see how happy Celestia and Tree Hugger were together. And even Celestia actually had a big surprise for Tree Hugger. She actually had offered her the chance to be immortal like herself. And even though Tree Hugger at first was a little bit hesitating, but she actually accepted the gift and became immortal like her wife. They later went to a tropical island for a resort for a honeymoon for about almost a week. They had a great time there, just swimming in the ocean, doing some sightseeing, just having an amazing time. Both were even happy to have started their new life together, and being just basically being happy to have entered a new chapter in their lives together. After being married for 3 years, both wanted to start a family, and Tree Hugger wanted to have their first baby. and Twilight had agreed to help them. Tree Hugger actually gave birth to an Alicorn daughter, and 3 years later, Celestia gave birth to twin Alicorn daughters herself. Both was just happy to have their own family and especially to be married with the one they loved the most in the whole world. And this is how Celestia and Tree Hugger found a true love, got a family together. The end.